welcome back to my annual Oscar series where I talk about all the Oscar categories except for the short film ones. I rank all the nominees per category according to who I think deserves to win the Oscar, then I make a prediction for who I think will win that Oscar. Right now I'm still hovering around the sound categories for a bit because I want to talk about Best Original Score. So the nominees are Jackie, Mika Levy; La La Land, Justin Hurwitz; Lion, Dustin O'Halloran and Hauschka; Moonlight, Nicholas Britell; and Passengers, Thomas Newman. Now, this list of nominees is kind of a list of extremes in my opinion, because there are a couple of nominees here that I think are pretty unremarkable and not deserving of nominations at all. In their place, I would have liked to see maybe Sing Street, which does have a good original score, and especially Pete's Dragon, which I love. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have another couple of films here that I'm having a really hard time picking between, and I'm gonna hate myself no matter what order I put them in. So with that said, in terms of who I think deserves to win this Oscar, at 5th place I'm gonna put Passengers. I have no idea why this film was nominated at all in this category, but I really want to make it clear first that Thomas Newman is responsible for some of my favorite film scores of all time. You know, Shawshank Redemption, Finding Nemo. But like with most film composers, there are, paycheck jobs. There are soundtracks that Thomas Newman makes that really aren't that remarkable, and Passengers is one of those soundtracks. The music here is totally generic. It's not used well in the movie, I think. There's just really nothing about it that stands out to me, nothing about it that I remember, so that's why it's dead last at number 5. Now at 4th place, I'm gonna give it to Lion. Lion definitely has a good soundtrack, but it is also somewhat generic, admittedly, and it lacks a main hook that, kind of keys us into certain characters and events. I do think it's a better score than Passengers because the film simply uses the score better. There are more sequences in Lion that depend on music to carry emotion, sometimes a bit too much. But it is at number 4 simply because it's nowhere near the quality of the next 3 film scores, in my opinion. So at 3rd place, and this already kind of hurts to say, I'm gonna give it to Jackie. The music in Jackie is brilliant. Mika Levy is such a great composer who, if you're not familiar with her work, watch Under the Skin and be completely disturbed by her music, because she's one of the few musicians I know and listen to who I think really does make scary music. And the music in Jackie is less scary than Under the Skin, but it's still really disturbing because the first thing you hear in Jackie in terms of music is her playing a chord and then her bending the chord really sort of jaggedly down to another chord, and the first and last positions of this chord sound fine, but the bending itself is so freaky. But it's done in such a great way because it captures the character of Jackie Kennedy here in this movie, and it captures Pablo Larraín's directorial style because it's very sort of meandering and it's almost dreamlike and disoriented, and I think it's just brilliant use of music in the film. Now these last two, man, it's really tough to pick between these two, but I just have to come up with an order, so I'm gonna go with this one. At 2nd place, I'm gonna give it to Moonlight. But let me make this clear that I think Moonlight has one of the best scores I've ever heard in a movie. And the thing that immediately stands out to me in terms of its music is that the score is a combination of these really frantic strings that, by my interpretation, represents Chiron's inner thoughts and how confused he is about himself, his own sexuality, about the environment he's growing up in. And then juxtaposed with that are these really gentle, sort of unbearably melancholic piano chords that reflect his outward appearance and how he just sort of takes things in stride and lets things wash over him because, of this lifetime of being persecuted and whatnot. And I love that these quieter parts sort of mimic the rhythm of the ocean, which is a recurring theme in Moonlight. It's just such a well thought out score that integrates perfectly into the film and into this character, and I think it is brilliant music. However, at 1st place, as of the moment, I'm going to say that the film that deserves to win this is La La Land. I strongly believe that Justin Hurwitz's score for La La Land will go down in history as classic film music. It is sweeping yet intimate at the same time. Similar to a lot of the best film scores throughout film history, like most recently I can think of Lord of the Rings. It uses a lot of recognizable motifs that repeat throughout the film that so that when we hear certain chords or we hear certain notes, we know exactly what sort of emotion or certain plot line is being alluded to. It's really well constructed music. And all of this music builds up to the last 10-15 minutes of the film, which I will not spoil if you still haven't seen this movie yet, but the epilogue of La La Land alone is just pure magic because it depends on music to tell the story. And what they do with the ending, it's really just honestly one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in a cinema. Again, I watched this movie 3 times in cinemas, and all 3 times I felt like crying, partially because of this ending. Like, it really just was a sledgehammer to me. And I know that La La Land is under a lot of criticism nowadays, but none of that phases me in terms of how I feel about the ending of this film because it is brilliant. However, in terms of who I think will win this Oscar, of course, it's still going to go to La La Land. I mean, come on, it's a musical, and not only is it a musical, but it's one of the best musicals ever made, in my opinion. And if you disagree with that, at the very least, it's one of the best musicals made in the last few decades. It is an endlessly hummable score that I admittedly hum to myself every single day, so I definitely think it's gonna win. Alright, so those are my thoughts on the best original score category for this year. What do you think of the nominees? Who do you think will win? Who do you think should win? Whatever you guys think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.